Mr. Sun was a bright circle of light, his rays shining like golden arrows. His face always smiled, as if the whole world was made for joy. His eyes glimmered with black calmness, holding no trace of darkness. His voice sounded like little bells, gentle and pure. He loved simply watching the clouds, as if he could control them. The warm glow made him the most reliable being in existence. Yet deep inside that smile, a spark of something inevitable was hiding. Mr. Sun's bright smile began to twist into something unnatural. One of his cheerful eyes melted into a dark hollow, staring like an endless void. The once golden rays turned sharper, like jagged teeth surrounding his face. At night, shadows crept closer to him instead of fading away. He whispered to himself, as if telling secrets only he could hear. Sometimes, shapes flickered across his surface figures no one could name. The sun that once warmed now felt like it was watching. Mr. Sun's face had vanished, leaving behind a single enormous eye. It stared without blinking, swallowing every reflection around it. The golden glow turned to a dim pulse, like a heartbeat made of ash. He began collecting shadows, storing them inside his gaze. Every time he blinked, the world grew darker for a moment longer. His rays no longer felt like warmth. They looked like rusted blades jutting out. The sun was no longer watching, it was hunting. Mr. Sun's body twisted into a mass of jagged rays, dripping with a dark red glow. 3 wide eyes opened across his face, staring in different directions at once. Each eye pulsed like a living wound, never blinking. He discovered a new hobby, mocking voices he heard, repeating them with eerie accuracy. When he spoke, it sounded like a chorus of people, none of them his own. His once simple rays writhed like broken limbs, reaching toward the ground. The sun was no longer light, it was an echo of nightmares. Mr. Sun had lost all color, his body was now pure darkness. Only a single eye floated in the void where his face once glowed. It stared without rest, heavy and merciless. He no longer played with voices or shadows, he fed on fear itself. Every heartbeat around him echoed in his eye like a drum. Those who looked into it felt their own terror reflected back at them. The sun no longer rose, it devoured. Mr. Sun's shape was no longer glowing, he was pure absence, a star-shaped shadow. The darkness around him pulsed, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. No eye was visible, yet everyone felt his gaze burning into them. He had found a new game, shaping the void into crawling figures. Those shadows slithered across the ground, whispering in forgotten tongues. Every place they touched lost its color, fading into lifeless black. The sun was no longer missing, it had become the night itself. Mr. Sun was no longer bright, he was a black star with a single slit eye. The eye opened and closed slowly, like the breath of a beast. Each of his rays had hardened into sharp spears of shadow. He hunted dreams, ripping them from sleepers and twisting them into shapes. Those shapes became his servants, walking blindly in the dark. His voice was now a hiss, vibrating through the air like broken glass. The world didn't see sunrise anymore, it saw his gaze. Mr. Sun had swollen into a colossal eye, larger than the sky itself. Dark lashes spread outward like twitching tendrils, dripping with shadow. The vertical pupil opened and closed with a sound like cracking bones. He discovered pleasure in dragging dreamers halfway into his realm. Their bodies twitched in reality while their souls screamed in darkness. Every blink tore the line between sleep and waking a little wider. The sun no longer rose, it swallowed both worlds at once. Ready for a challenge? According to statistics, only 3% of viewers manage to like the video and subscribe to the channel before the timer runs out. Write a comment if you made it in time. Mr. Sun's body pulsed red, glowing like a bleeding wound in the sky. One massive eye stared forward, while smaller eyes circled around him. Each eye blinked separately, capturing different angles of the world. He began to spy on everything at once, never missing a detail. Victims felt their own movements repeated, as if the sun was copying them. The smaller eyes whispered in unison, spreading paranoia through the air. The world was no longer free, everything was under his gaze. Mr. Sun's body cracked open, revealing a pulsating red eye drenched in veins. The surface of his form was half stone, half rotting flesh. Every throb sent streams of blood down his jagged rays. He learned to split his essence, birthing smaller eyes that crawled free. These wandering eyes rolled across the ground, twitching and whispering. When they found prey, they latched on and showed visions of endless torment. The sun was no longer bound to the sky, it walked among the living. Mr. Sun was now a single monstrous eye, glowing red with veins like fire. The stone-like surface around it cracked, dripping with dark fluid. Every pulse of his gaze sent waves of dread across the land. He discovered a new obsession, feeding on the stares of the living. Anyone who dared to look into him felt their strength being drained. His blood-red rays twitched, reaching for those too weak to resist. The sun had become a predator of sight itself. Mr. Sun's eye burned bright orange, glowing like molten fire. Around it, jagged teeth tore through his flesh, forming a living mouth. Every blink was a bite, every stare a hunger. He no longer only watched, he consumed. When someone looked too long, their soul slipped into his maw. Screams echoed inside him, turning into twisted laughter. The sun had become a devourer of spirits. Mr. Sun's eye glowed with crimson veins, pulsing like a living heart. Black spines radiated outward, vibrating with whispers. Blood dripped from the edges of his cracked shell, falling into the void below. He discovered a cruel talent, bending daylight into nightmares. The living began to see horrors walking under the sun, though nothing was there. Every glance into his eye planted visions that never left. The sun had become an architect of madness. Mr. Sun was now a black star with a burning red slit eye. His rays were no longer light, they were blades of pure shadow. The eye glowed like a furnace, piercing through every soul it touched. He discovered a new hunger, seizing control of thoughts. Victims found their voices no longer their own, speaking in his whispers. Every decision they made was just an echo of his will. The sun had become the master of minds. Mr. Sun's eye collapsed inward, leaving only a black dot in a sea of red. The void inside him pulsed, like a mouth waiting to open again. His spiked rays grew longer, sharper, forming a crown of silence. He discovered a darker game, creating shadow replicas of mortals. These copies walked and spoke, but their eyes glowed faintly red. The originals slowly faded away, replaced entirely by his puppets. The sun was no longer a watcher, it was a thief of existence. Mr. Sun's pale eye glowed faintly, surrounded by jagged teeth. His once radiant rays were now blackened, spikes dripping crimson. The mouth within him gnashed constantly, hungry for more. He no longer fed only on fear, he devoured flesh itself. Those who approached vanished, leaving only hollow shells behind. Every crunch echoed through the land like thunder. The sun was now a beast of endless hunger. Mr. Sun was now hollow, an empty eye staring from a black star. No color remained, only shades of gray and shadow. The world grew silent beneath his presence, as if sound itself feared him. He discovered a new passion, erasing, not devouring. Victims who met his gaze were not eaten, but unmade. Their names, faces, and lives vanished, as though they never were. The sun was no longer hunger, it was oblivion.